You're listening to the Travis Makes Money podcast presented by GoHighLevel.com. For a free 30-day trial of the best all-in-one digital marketing software tool on the planet, just go to GoHighLevel.com/Travis. What's going on, money makers? Welcome back to the Travis Makes Money podcast, where it's our mission to help you make more money. If you're new to the show, we release brand new conversations with unconventional money makers every single day of the week. So if you haven't yet, please be sure to go whatever podcast app you like to listen to, including YouTube, and subscribe to the show there so you never miss an opportunity to learn how to make more money. Today on the show, we're going to be talking a little bit about courses, coaching, consulting, but without using sales calls and sales teams. And I'm stoked to jump into that with my new friend, Jacob Caris. He's sold over $6 million online in courses, coaching, and consulting, and has come up with a couple of really new concepts that I thought were really interesting. And then he's also somebody who came from Wall Street, from very corporate job, working 100-hour plus work weeks, and now has been able to change that and make more money and also get more of his time back. So before we get into this chat, if you are an entrepreneur or solopreneur using multiple softwares for marketing, email, forms, calendars, SMS, reputation management, et cetera, you might be doing it wrong. You owe it to yourself to go check out High Level's all-in-one platform for marketing and automation so that you can get back to focusing on what you know how to do best. They've created an amazing tool that's somehow as simple as it is capable. So join over 3 million other business owners and go to gohighlevel.com/Travis for a free 30-day trial of the platform. That's gohighlevel.com/Travis to see what High Level can do for you. Now, without further ado, Jacob Caris, what's up, dude? Welcome to the show.
How you doing, man? Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. This will be fun.
Yeah, dude. I was fascinated when I saw your ads come across. I think I bought something of yours, like the 5-page Google Doc system or something like that, which I'm sure we'll get into.
Yep.
But I always love, especially for this show, the show's called Travis Makes Money. The idea is that we just want to get people to think about other ways that they can make an income. Most personal finance people talk about cutting expenses and cutting this thing and saving here and cutting. And it's like, at the end of the day, like you can only cut so much. And maybe that's necessary at the very beginning. If you have never had a budget and you're used to overspending and you got 20K in credit card debt, maybe that's really helpful. But if you're so concerned and you're living on the razor's edge of $100 a month or something like that, and to put into savings or a retirement account, you probably should be focusing on the earning piece. So I'm curious to know how you made your first dollar ever, and then we'll talk about how you make money now.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So, I mean, first money ever was like when I got into the workforce, obviously, and that was in the finance game. First money ever online was actually back in 2011,
Mm.
when I first got into my corporate job, and very quickly I was looking around and I'm like, these guys have been here for like 20, 30 years and they're still here. And I'm like, hang on, I got to start exit planning
Dude, you
with
know
it
what?
like really rapidly.
That is a
Um,
tell right there, bro. Like if you're in a career setting and you're like lower on the totem pole, so to speak, you're one of the younger people and you're looking around at these people who've been
yeah,
there for that long and you don't see yourself being that person,
yeah,
you better start building that exit plan sooner rather
yeah,
than later.
exactly. And so, yeah, then started like Googling the whole like internet thing, which was obviously a lot more in its infancy back then.
Yeah.
Checked out like Warrior Forum back in the day, and then landed on Flipper,
Oh
the
yeah.
the where you buy websites. And so I bought this website that had made like a couple of grand, and it was like selling. There was a platform back in the day called Google Plus. It was like one of their early social media platforms that they tried to bring out in
Hmm.
competition to like Facebook, I think. And so it was essentially selling like social signals. Like people were trying to game the algorithm by getting more likes on the platform and stuff like that. And it was literally just like selling packages because that stuff worked back then.
Yeah.
It was everything was very simple by comparison to how sophisticated the algorithms and stuff are now. And so yeah, I was literally selling those packages and then outsourcing the delivery. And that website made like maybe 20 grand before that kind of little sub niche became flooded.
Hmm.
And then that coincided with the GFC obviously hit the States in 2008, and I was in the distressed finance world down here, and it took a couple of years for it to trickle down. Like the banks take a while to clear out their books. And so that year that happened, and then the GFC kind of flowed down to Australia, and that was the field I was working in, and so work just got mental.
Huh.
And so it kind of got put on hold for like 6 or 7 years
Was that
while
kind of like just because Like, was it a lack of workforce? Like, were they just like laying off a ton of people and then just keeping a core group, and then those people's workload just increased exponentially? Or
No, it was just that because the work we did was literally cleaning up companies that had taken on too much debt, couldn't service their debt, asset values drop, and so there was just so much work, and they just couldn't.
Mm,
It's quite a specialized field, and they just couldn't hire enough people to do the work. And so
gotcha.
I was the lowest level possible, doing like a manager's job in terms of the scope that I was taking on, and yeah, just quickly ended up in the 60 to 80 hour a week trap, and got stuck there for a few years. I learned a lot though. Like it's a super interesting field. If anyone's ever thinking about going into like finance or accounting, I would recommend that, because it's actually the commercial field where you deal with all different businesses, and like we get dropped into these crazy situations. And especially I think in this day and age where people are losing the ability to communicate,
Mm.
like people are scared to pick up the phone, people don't know how to communicate person to person. Like I'm so grateful for the situations that I got thrust into and had to work my way out of, because I think it served me so well.
What also anchors your work week at such a high amount of work
Yeah.
that, like, like if you start with something that's like, 20 to 40 hours a week,
Yeah.
you jump into entrepreneurship and realize it's going to be 80. It's like, ugh, I don't know if I
Yeah.
really want to do this anymore. But if you're used to 80, 100-hour work weeks, it's like, oh well, now I
Right.
just do the same thing, but it's just for myself, which feels better.
Yeah. I always find it funny. Like, I mean, you know what it's like over on Instagram, people talking about, hustle, grind, da da da. And I look at a lot of these guys and I'm like, you wouldn't last a second in the shit that I used to do. Like you think this is hustle and grind? Wait until you're doing it for like 4 grand a month.
Yeah, right,
Like
exactly.
with no upside.
With
It's a
no
completely
upside.
different world.
Yeah, with nothing but the ability to take that 4 grand a month and turn it into 4,200 a month at your raise next year.
Exactly, if you're lucky. Yeah. Yeah. So that was where it all really began, and I got my taste, and then it kind of hit the back burner for a while. Um and it was always there. It was always bubbling away. I always knew, just because I'd had that like little proof of concept, which I think is the big gap for most people. They try these things, but until you see that first little bit of money hit your account, it's like Santa. It's like, do we believe? Do we believe? Is it real?
Right, right.
Um, and yeah, it planted that seed, and then I ended up in the States for a couple of years, kind of doing the same work at a much bigger scale,
Mm,
and that was ultimately what tipped me over the edge. When I was coming back to Oz, I was like, I can't go back. I can't go back and
yeah.
do this more. I was at a time in my life where no kids, um, no mortgages. That it's like now or never kind of moment. Life doesn't get less complicated. Life doesn't get more simple typically.
Right,
And so I
right.
just went
Did you
all
did you
in, went head first.
did you have like money saved up or anything like that?
I had a bit saved up. Yeah, I got a bonus on my exit out of New York, which gave me some runway, and I did 6 months of unpaid work. I actually went back into corporate when I came back for like 3 months, because I
Mm.
just to test it. I was like, is this the right move? And I've still got this feeling in my gut. I remember driving in for the first day back in after having had 6 months off, living like the laptop lifestyle. And that feeling in that, like, I still remember sitting in the traffic on the highway, driving in, and that feeling to this day, this may not be the healthiest driver, but like that feeling to this day still motivates me to, you know, be on a podcast at 7 o'clock in the morning when, you know, oh, I got a newborn at home, and like, because there's no way I'm going back to that. Not like it's not happening.
Yeah, right, right. So where did you start when you decided to go full time all in? Was this
Yeah,
back
so
into
so
like acquiring
it was in my
websites or?
so it was in my second year in the States, it was 2017, and I remember I was flying to St. Louis for a bankruptcy court hearing for one of the files we were running, and something prompted me to buy a couple of books, and I bought Unshakable by Tony Robbins, which is his
Mhm.
one all about index funds and stuff like that. Um, I bought Launch by Jeff Walker,
Mhm.
uh, and I bought one more. I can't remember what the third one was. But anyway, I read them like while I was in St. Louis. And then as it happens, you get dropped into these kind of remarketing audiences. And the one that hit me and the one that grabbed me was Russell Brunson. For his he had an affiliate boot camp.
Mm.
And it was like you just did your pitch for GHL. Um, this was like the earlier version of that with ClickFunnels. They were building up using an affiliate army, and they had this thing called the affiliate boot camp, where it was like get 100, uh, refer 100 people, It's like 4 grand a month. It's enough to kind of get you out into the game.
Yeah.
Do it in 100 days, which was aggressive. That did not happen. Um, and so yeah, that
Oh, you're
was what got
saying the
me in.
promise did not become true?
Yeah, it was. I love Russell. I think he's a really smart guy.
Yeah.
It was but that was the thing that got me in, and then started out. But because of my job, I couldn't be public, right? We worked on really high profile cases. Like these were like the bankruptcy cases that were like all over the Wall Street Journal.
Yeah.
This person's writing off $4 billion. This person's writing off $5 billion. Like all these people are, getting screwed in this deal, that deal. And so I just couldn't be public, but I was like, I got to find a way. So I took the affiliate marketing stuff and then I bought a like $100 course on long tail keyword blogging. So not just like not building like a blog where I'm trying to rank for like you know, uh, gym clothes with like a billion other people. These were like hyper specific long tail keywords where you'd write an article around like something like so narrow that there
Yeah.
might be like one other person trying to rank for it.
Yeah. Where
Right.
like the search volume isn't 100,000 people a month. It's like
Yeah.
600.
Yeah, but the goal is that you do a lot of those pages and it ultimately builds up. And so what I did was I literally just started like I bought a couple of Russell's books and I read them and then I wrote reviews for them because I was like, this is cool, this is
Mm,
interesting stuff. And
yeah.
so just started reviewing kind of online products that I'd gone through, different softwares and stuff like that, and built up this little blog. It was called Funnel Brick Road, as in like Yellow Brick Road, but Funnel
Mm,
Brick Road, and that made me like 20 grand in that first year as well, 2017, while I was working full time. And I literally built it like on my phone. Like I was writing the articles on my phone in notes,
nice.
and then I'd like copy them over to my laptop and post them.
Yeah.
So I did it like on planes and subways in New York, and I had a weekly commute to Kansas City for 6 months. And so I'd sit in the traffic from LaGuardia to Jersey City for 2 hours after I landed. So I'd write them then. And it was just like any opportunity.
Yeah.
Uh, and yeah, that kind of reinforced the belief that it was possible. And then yeah, it went deep in the affiliate space. So that was really the re-entry.
Okay. Got it. So you
Yeah.
started just searching for products to send traffic to from niche blogs.
Yeah, pretty much. And then started expanding different traffic strategies as well. So went from just doing blogging to taking some of that money and reinvesting it into Google Ads as well. And then once I got back to Oz, so like March 2018, I started a little Facebook group just sharing what I was doing.
Yeah.
And so I had like 400 people in there that I just messaged in the space being like, because again, I still had my job. I couldn't be public. I was on unpaid leave, but I still had the job.
Mm,
And so I'm still just operating from like behind the scenes, like DMing people to join my Facebook group, doing all the like real basic level stuff. But it
yeah. The
it it built,
grassroots.
yeah, the
Yeah.
the stuff that is so ugly and no one really talks about, but I think everyone goes through it at some point. Um, and that built up my, the what's the guy's name? Thousand True Fans,
Mhm.
someone Kelly.
Kevin Kelly.
Yeah. So that built up like my initial following in that little Facebook group. And a lot of those people still follow me today, which is really cool. Um, and so yeah, that was then my segue into personal branding. So I played in this like affiliate space, promoted different things, started building up a little bit of a personal brand, just like sharing what I was doing. I'd like be at work and then I'd run home and go live in the group and I'd be like sweaty in my suit because it's all, it's bloody hot here in Australia. And I'd be talking about like, oh, I'm trying this new Google Ads thing, or I'm trying this new, and I was just sharing stuff that probably other people were charging for, but I was just kind of doing what Gary Vee says. I was documenting the journey.
Mhm,
I
mhm.
had no idea what it would become. I didn't really have many expectations around it becoming anything.
So you weren't really like selling anything in that group. It was just
Not
more like,
really. Not
yeah.
initially. No, it was literally just me like kind of sharing my story. And I guess it had a point of difference too, because I'd come from the corporate thing and was trying to people buy into a story like that. I was trying to get my way out of it.
Mm, yeah.
Um, and it's one of those stories where it's like, if I can get out of corporate with these level of chains around my ankle,
Yeah.
like the
Yeah.
hours, I think anyone can. Uh, and so yeah, it was a cool story, and that got me then into the kind of the personal branding space, and just kept going with different affiliate offers. Kind of went deeper into the internet marketing world, found higher ticket affiliate marketing, which isn't quite the same as it used to be.
Yeah. Yeah,
They're
there's a lot
brought
of
them.
changes that have happened, I think, in the online, especially info space, courses,
Yeah,
coaching, consulting, stuff like that has been
that's right.
heavily
Yeah, so went
saturated.
deeper into the high ticket world, which was really fun for a while because they'd be selling like 30 grand packages and you'd make like a $6,000, $10,000 commission on it, and
Yeah.
it was like fully hands off. Like it was wild. It was like the good old days. Uh, you'd wake up to like an email, you've done nothing, and it's like here's 10 grand. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Sweet.
Uh, yeah, very cool. And then ultimately teamed up with a couple of dudes and went into the info space in my own right for the first time, where I basically just brought together the different strategies I'd figured out as an affiliate.
Mm.
At this point, I'd won a bunch of awards. I was a top affiliate for Tony Robbins and Dean Graziosi on one of their big launches.
Oh yeah.
Um,
The
I'd
KBB ones.
Yeah, KBB, yeah. So that did like 100 grand in a day
Wow.
on the day it went live. So I'd done lots of different things at this point, so I felt confident that I could teach people these processes. Uh,
And you were
and
mainly teaching like affiliate marketing?
Yeah, yeah, the whole thing was
Okay.
affiliate marketing with a very heavy tilt towards organic and Facebook. Because what I'd then done with the group at that point is I'd really started transitioning to, well, hang on, there's a lot of power in higher ticket affiliate marketing if we use this personal branding approach. And so it kind of brought these two worlds together. People were doing it with their own coaching offers, but no one was really doing it in the affiliate space.
Hmm.
And so that became the backbone of the course. Uh, and we launched that in late 2019. And that did over $1 million in its first year in 2020.
Wow.
It just kind of went nuts. It was that new opportunity that, talking about Russell, he talks about creating a new
Yeah.
opportunity.
New vehicle.
We entered the market, and most of the solutions for affiliates at that point was lower ticket stuff. So the high ticket stuff
Supplements.
was
Yeah.
attractive. Yeah. Blogging, YouTube, solo ads, all these different things. And so we came in with just a fresh and different solution, and it went kind of bananas.
Yeah. So that was
Um,
really like your first offer that you put together.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah. What have you learned about offer structure since then?
I think one of the big lessons from that was load your slingshot before you fire your first shot, right? Like a lot of people will go make 10 grand in affiliate marketing, then they'll launch a course. I'd done it for years and years and years and
Mm.
won all the awards and really mastered the craft before I went and launched it. So the more you can, really dial in your expertise,
Yeah.
the better. I think it'll help you launch faster and bigger. Uh, since then, going deeper into helping people craft their own offers, which is kind of the space that I play in more over the last few years and play in now. I think it comes down to a couple of things. You mentioned, the no sales call thing, right?
Mhm.
That's a very clear and real pain point for people, is being on the phone all day. And then that flows into a lot of things. That flows into, they just don't want to do it. It flows into, well, if you've got kids, it's very tricky. Uh,
Well,
they
managing
don't
sales reps is a job by
exactly
itself.
exactly. It flows into all these problems, and so if you can solve one very clear and real pain point that people are sitting with, not that's like not trying to sell like, hey, are you 25 and worried about your retirement? It's like they're not thinking about that,
Right.
right? But what are they sitting with like right now? If you can take it off their plate, that if you can nail that,
Yeah.
and coming back to the lesson around the first offer is, and you can give them a new, sexy, slightly different approach to tackle it. If you bring those two things together, you need one offer and you'll change your life forever.
Mm. Yeah. The the grand slam offer idea
Yeah.
is that it only has to work once.
Yeah. Yeah. Like Russell says, one funnel away. I think one offer away is probably more accurate.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I have to agree with that, and I
Yeah.
think Alex Ramosi really kind of popularized that idea
Yeah.
with his $100 million offers book, which is still to this day one of the best
Yeah.
just business books that I've read. Like it was one of those ones where it was like, yeah, I was introduced to his stuff through kind of like the online marketing world, but that book is something that's like, oh well, this should be taught in schools. Like this is timeless offer creation and pricing principles that will
Right.
work regardless of the size of your business, what you sell, high ticket, low ticket, info,
Yeah.
physical, CPG, B2B, whatever it is.
Yeah.
You have to nail the offer. So if you can
You do.
create something that's so good that people can't help but buy it, then it makes it a lot easier to sell that thing.
It does.
And then to your point, like being able to sell that without sales reps, especially at the time, inside of that space specifically, the majority of like the top producing offers that I was aware of, at least anyway, were ones that were talking about sales reps all the time. The ones were the done for you hiring and training sales reps, done for you hiring and training setters. And these are the people that were scaling to, $1 million a month, 2 million a month, 3 million a month were the people that were selling this exact thing. And then once the first one proved that was a good model, obviously a dozen other people came into the space and were like, we can hire and recruit and train salespeople for you too.
Yeah.
So that was when I saw the ad. I think it was an ad anyway for your training. I was like, that's unique. It's that unique selling proposition that cuts through the noise that says like, how everybody's talking about sales reps all the time. Well, I actually don't think that you need that. And here's exactly how I propose that that's a solution to the problem. And then
I mean, you're probably not going to use it to scale to $1 million a month, but that's not that's not my MO. That's not the season that I'm in. And I think a lot of people start to blur out the noise when you talk about those numbers as well.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I also don't think it's, my personal opinion is that in the info space specifically, I have no interest in building $1 million a month info business.
No.
Because of the reason to be in the space is because of how simple it is to build an online business in the space. Once you scale past $250,000 a month, you get into some really complex problems that you start to have to solve, and your margins continue to get squeezed and squeezed and squeezed over time. And it's like, it sounds sexier to be like, we're doing $1 million a month. But it's like, but if your profit was the same as when you were doing 200 grand a month, why didn't you just stay at 200 grand a month, bro? Like your 50% margins at 200 grand or your 10% margins at $1 million, you take home the same. The difference is that you actually have free time and you're not stressed all the time, and you don't have a team of 84 people or whatever. You can do it with you and a few VAs overseas and like a good operating person or something like that. The business remains operationally simple and can have really good margins that you can then invest into starting a business that is more capable of scaling beyond those numbers and will actually be fun to scale beyond those numbers too.
Yeah. I think the only reason it makes sense to, even if you aren't picking up incremental margin, is if there's a bigger play behind the scenes. So one of the things that I'm moving more and more into is, I have lower ticket staff. I've got the coaching programs. I do one-to-one work. But coming from a banking background, private equity has always interested me, and I've worked in private equity at times as well. And I think that's a play that doesn't get done enough online, where you can literally come in and either, deploy capital, deploy expertise, deploy resources. And so, I think most of these guys aren't doing this, but, if you have this thing that's generating you so many clients, even if it's not picking up the margin there, if you had an opportunity on the back end, I think you could, make an argument that maybe it's worthwhile. But, I totally agree. It's like, why are we doing this extra $800,000 in sales to pick up nothing?
Yeah, I just had a client the other day that we were talking about that, and he was talking about how he was doing right now, I don't know, like 60, 70. He was like, I want to get to $1 million in a month. That's like my goal. Because I was asking him like, what's your goal? Like, where are you trying to go? He was like, well, I'm trying to get here. And I was just like, why?
Yeah.
Why are you trying to get there? Because of status? Because that's not a fun game to play. The status game doesn't lead you down a path of like happiness and fulfillment, and a lot of times it doesn't lead you down a path to more profit either. It also makes you be willing to do more things that are shady and not actually valuable to the customer that you're serving, just because you're trying to increase top line revenue so much that you start being willing to like, well, what if we just throw out this crazy price and then it's like, okay, just because you can sell it at that price does not mean it's worth that price. And your end user decides how much it's worth, and you being a good salesperson does not mean that it's going to be worth that much. Now you're just selling something that's way too much for something that is not worth that much, and you're
Yep.
telling yourself it's worth that much because you can sell it for that much and the customer decides the value and all this other stuff. And it's like, yeah, but at the end of the day, that customer's not going to be happy, and you're going to feel the squeeze on the back end of this in a year
Mhm.
from now when you have built a book of business of 400 high ticket clients who 80% of which did not get any results using the program, or only got minimal results and never even came close to getting return on the
Yep.
money that they gave you. It's like, well, we're going down a wrong path here, guys. Like, what are you doing this for? Because I think that's a question that most people don't spend any time thinking about. They get sold the idea that, like, well, we got to keep scaling, we got to keep
Mhm.
getting bigger, we got to keep doing better, we got to go to this revenue number, we hit this revenue, we got to go to this one. It's like, well, that's not the goal, man. You started doing this because you wanted to escape your corporate job.
Mhm.
You started doing this because you love this thing, whether you love dog training, you love you know affiliate marketing, you love podcasting, you love writing books. And so you got into this thing to teach this thing so you could do more of this thing. And now you're focused on this other thing that has nothing to do with with why you got into this to begin with. So, like,
Yeah.
interrogating the purpose or the reason behind it, I think is something that people don't spend enough time doing.
Yeah. I think what you're talking, I mean, this comes into all areas of money. There's quantitative factors and there's qualitative factors, and the quantitative factors are the ones that get the air. The qualitative factors very rarely get discussed. I talk about this. Some of my like more private clients that I work with, we expand beyond like making money, and then we start talking about investing and
Mhm.
setting things up and corporate structures, because that's kind of my background as well. And um and debt always comes up as an interesting talking point. And when you hear people talk, debt's not good, debt's not bad. That's just a vehicle. It's just how do you want to use it. And the thing that comes up when people talk about debt is it's always just the numbers, right? It's like, what's the interest rate? What's the term? What's the asset value? What are my repayments? Blah, 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 blah. It's just, which is fine. But there's this whole other side to debt that nobody talks about, which is all the qualitative factors. You mentioned the decision making, right? In order to hit a revenue target, no one talks about the decisions that you start making because you've got that debt,
Mm,
right? The clients that you now take on because you've got debt that you've got to service, even if it's not directly correlated to the business, even if it's somewhere else,
right.
right? It has a massive impact on decision making. And so there's all these other variables. There's peace of mind. There's all this other stuff. How do you feel when you're with your kids because you've got this, loan on this car, or like whatever it may be.
Yeah.
There's all these other variables when it comes to business that just aren't the number. The goal of a business is to make a profit for the shareholders, yes. But when you're the only shareholder,
Right. Right.
you have the flexibility to make more sophisticated decisions than just the bottom line, right? And
Correct.
so, yeah, I think it's a great piece of advice.
Yeah. Decisions that are based on, what do I actually want my life to look like? We
Exactly.
do this like day in the life exercise with people sometimes. We're just like, just write out your ideal day. And not like in retirement. Obviously, like the most ideal day is like I wake up on the beach in Bora Bora and sip a mimosa and whatever. It's like, okay, but that's vacation.
Yeah,
That's not a realistic
yeah.
way to live the
And you'll
rest
get
of your
bored.
life. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's not a good goal to solve for. But what's like something, if you wrote out the ideal day of like you're in flow, you're focused, you're productive, you're working on something that means something to you, that matters to you, you're creating an amazing life and great income for you and for your family, and you're able to use your time the way that you want to use your time while also being productive and creating something that you're proud of in the world. What does that
yeah.
day look like? Because a lot
Mm,
of times I think that it's much more meager than people think that it has to be.
absolutely.
Like, you probably, like, most people probably don't need to have a private jet. You know
No,
what I mean? Like,
no.
like most people are probably okay with that not being something they have. But then they have these revenue targets that are based on those goals. It's like, well, you're
Mhm.
you're 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 talking private jet numbers. Is that what you want? If that's what you want, great, go for it. I am very much like pro capitalism. I'm pro make however much money you want to go make. I'm
Yeah.
I'm 100% for that, but only if it's because you want it, not
Mhm.
because the internet told you that that's what you have to do and that you're
Yeah.
selfish if you don't do it.
Yeah.
That's that person's idea. That's that person's goal. That's their lifestyle. That's the one that they want to build. What do
Yeah.
you actually want from this? And how do you create a business that solves for that problem?
Yeah.
Which is exactly what you've done, bro. Like, you
Yeah.
you realize that the lifestyle that you were running at that time was not something that you wanted to continue doing. And you built a plan, executed that plan, successfully exited that, that corporate hierarchy, and built something of meaning in another place that allows you to spend time with your newborn while also creating significant income stream for you and your family to do what you want to do.
Yeah. And what you're articulating should be the starting point, because if you blindly pick strategies and tactics without any consideration for that, it's more likely than not that you're going to end up with something that you didn't want to build. And so you have to start there before you choose the funnel, the offer structure, the strategy to actually build it. With the guys I work with, I take it one step beyond kind of daily, and I get them to look at weekly, because what I found was that, like, I know for me, I'm happy as a pig in, you know what, um if I can go and see my football team play live. They're in Melbourne, a couple of hours south. My partner and I like to travel to wineries. I like nice wine. And so what I found, right, was with a normal 5 day work week, we couldn't do those weekend trips as easily, because I'd come in Monday, then I'd have calls and this kind of stuff. And so, like, as an example of kind of life design, I don't do calls on a Monday or a Friday,
Mm.
because that gives me the flexibility to do those little weekend trips. And so it's about figuring out what really moves the needle for you. Like this Saturday, I'm flying up to Darwin, which is like 4 hours away, to watch my football team play. That's like the ultimate for me. Some
Yeah.
people might be like, "That's stupid. Why would you fly 4 hours to watch a football team?" But that's it for me. That's like what I want to be able to do.
Right.
There's a few things like that, but you got to work out what those things are, and then build the constraints that allow you to do that. And then you've only got one job. You got to hold the line. You got
Mm.
to hold the line until it becomes reality, because it'll probably take you longer operating within these constraints, but you're going to love the outcome instead of hate it.
Yeah. Yeah. And then figure out how to love the journey along the way.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's it, dude. That's it, is solving for what version of life you really want to live, and
Yep.
then taking stock every once in a while, once a
Yeah.
quarter, maybe
Quarterly.
once a
Yep.
month, whatever cadence works well for you, to make
Mhm.
sure that you're still wanting to go this direction. Like you said, it's not a great case scenario to end up putting in all this work to accomplish something that you didn't even want to accomplish to begin with. I talk about it in climbing a mountain all the time. It's like, if you're only climbing this mountain because society, culture, your parents, school, teachers, coaches, online influencers, whatever, told you that this is the mountain that should be worth climbing, and
Mhm.
then you realize, like, halfway up the mountain, that you don't want to be climbing that mountain, go down the mountain and
Yeah.
start climbing the mountain you really want to climb. Like,
Yeah.
being in a place where sunk cost fallacy drives your decisions is not a good place to be, because how long are you going to allow that to drive your decisions? It's
Mhm.
not going to lead you to the path that you want to have, because when you get to the top of the mountain, you're going to sit there and go like, yeah, this is cool, but you're still going to feel like some version of emptiness inside of you, because for at least half of the climb, you didn't want to be at the top of this mountain anyway.
Yeah.
So, like, now you still got to do the work of climbing all the way back down the mountain, driving over the other one, and starting from scratch at the other one anyway. So do not let this sunk cost fallacy prevent you from going and doing the thing that you actually want to do, which is why you
Yeah.
need to constantly be making sure that, like, this is the direction I want to be going in, and this is why. And
Yeah.
getting clarity on the what and then the why is going to help you get there along the way.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I think the other thing on that I've realized too is different seasons of life uh present very real challenges around what you're just describing. Like the business that I had before my first son was born, completely different. I
Mm.
I contracted it all down to one offer, and then he was like one, and I started expanding again, like expanding offer suite, adding complexity, and then my partner got pregnant again, and we had another one on the way who was just born, and I'm like, what am I doing? Right. And go, so you start contracting again, but it can be really hard to let go, especially with this personal branding thing, and we're documenting in public, and we're like, hey,
Yeah.
I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I've launched this thing. Like you become tied to this identity, and you got two options. You either sit with it and hate it, or you make the hard decision, have the conversation, and kind of move on.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it doesn't pencil out. The math
No,
doesn't work long term. It's like,
no.
how long? How long are you going to do the thing that you don't like doing because you don't
Yeah.
want to have the difficult conversation, or you don't want to face public scrutiny because you were building in public or whatever? It's
Right.
like, it's only going to get worse.
Yeah.
It's not going to get any better. You're
Yeah.
not going to, all of a sudden change your mind about it in a month from now and then decide that I actually really love this other thing. It's like, you just get clarity and then try to drown out the noise as much as you can. Spend time with the people that know you the best and care for you the most, and see how you can build a life that helps you do more of those things that you love. But dude, thank you so much for doing this, man. Just really quick, let's talk about this 5-page Google Doc thing before I let you go, because that was kind of the thing that got me into your world a little bit more.
Let's talk about it.
What, first of all, what is it, and how can people implement something like this inside of their business?
Yeah. So this is in particular for people who either have a business where they sell info of some kind or want to get into that game. And when I say info, I'm talking catch all. It could be anywhere from a $50 thing to a $50,000 thing. We've used it for literally everything in that price range. And so this is really there's a few people out there kind of talking about this and doing it now. When I first started selling higher ticket stuff of my own, in the DMs, I remember looking at the options for scaling with the whole sales call thing, and I was like, this is crazy. Like, I come from a world where we were signing $300 million term sheets, and it's like 2 pages in a PDF. I'm like, why are we getting on a phone for 60 minutes to talk about spending $5,000? Like, no, I know $5,000 is a lot of money for people and stuff like that, but if you can't just read a piece of paper, like we're talking about business here. If you can't just read a piece of paper and go, this is what's included, this is what I'm getting, let's just not do it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, why do we need these awkward 60-minute? And dude, I did them. Like, we did scaled in that first year with calls, because that was what I was told I had to do to scale. And so once I finally lent into that, like, hey, I'm not crazy, this is actually a real thing. There was a few other people doing similar stuff, and took on some mentors and learned from different people along the way, adapted it to my own strategies. But here's the thing in a nutshell. The ad says, Google Doc template, but the real money is in understanding this. You either run a marketing driven business or you run a sales driven business. Neither is wrong, neither is right. They're just two very different businesses. The sales driven business is what you were articulating before, Travis, where there's some marketing going on, they're running some ads, there's a bit of lead gen, there's a decentish offer, and then in the middle, you've got a bunch of people pounding the DMs and pounding the phones to try and bridge people between those two worlds. That's one business. The business that I prefer to build is more heavy on the marketing, right? It's about creating an ecosystem where, you might be publishing on Instagram, you might do some YouTube videos, you got some remarketing ads, you got some cold ads. But once people are in your world, they're indoctrinated and they start seeing you everywhere, right? That omnipresence concept. And I've got this content approach that I call the ETM, which is engineer the moment. And it comes down to 3 things. It comes down to educating people on who you are, educating people on what you do, and then being there every single day in some way, shape, or form, such that when the timing lines up for them, that they want to solve the problem that you solve, you're the only person that they see. Right. And when you line up those 3 things and you educate people through your content on your values, your philosophies, what you're all about, the things we've spoken about today, and you educate them on, well, this is how we tactically, strategically can actually help you. If they resonate with both of those things, they're going to want to go ahead, and they don't need to have their arm twisted for 60 minutes. And that's where the document comes into it. It's simply, hey, yeah, I'd love to help you out. This is the offer that I'm running at the moment.
Yeah.
So that's the shift. It's from a sales driven business to a marketing driven business. You have to have the content, the ecosystem, the pre-selling, the education of the lead. Otherwise it simply won't work. You can't have like one shitty lead gen ad and then expect to be able to send those people a document for 10 grand and they're going to buy. It's not going to happen. You've got to use the marketing to get the trust up to a point, like an 8, 9 out of 10. And then the document just finishes it off.
Yeah. Right? Yeah. And you put the link to a Stripe page or something like that directly in the doc. So
if it's a sub $5,000, I will.
Okay.
If we start pushing 5, 10 north of that, where there's more of me going into the offer or more of a client, we'll hold it back and they can reply. It just gives them a little bit more ability to filter.
Yeah. Yeah. Got it. Yeah. Well, cool, dude. I appreciate you coming on and sharing a little bit more about that. Where can people go to pick up the whatever course that it was that I bought that kind of teaches this framework, and where can they go to, learn more?
Yeah, it's linked in my Instagram bio or my Facebook bio if they want that in particular. Otherwise, if they want my stuff more generally, just jacobcaris.com, and then that'll take them down all the rabbit holes.
jacobcaris.com. That's Caris, jacobcaris.com. Go check out some of the stuff that Jacob's putting out there. This is some of the more refreshing content, I'll say, that I've seen in the internet marketing space. So do yourself a favor and go check that out if you are curious about how to make more money online through some of these info products. Jacob, thanks so much for doing this, bro. Everybody else listening, remember, money only solves your money problems. but it's a little bit easier to solve the rest of your problems if you got some money in the bank. So let's solve that problem first here on the Travis Makes Money podcast. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Catch you next time. Peace out.